All right, Talk to Me podcast here at Louder Than Life 2017 with the great Jose Mangin, man. How you doing?
Yeah, brother. What's up, man? Yes. You're OG, dude.
Yeah, we are OG.
We met, what, you said in 1998, you said?
In 1998, if I remember correctly, it was Fear Factory, System of a Down, Spine Shank, Head PE tour.
At the New Daisy Theater. Yes.
In Memphis. And this crazy Mexican jumps on the Fear Factory bus while I'm talking to like Burton, and turns out to be Jose Mangin.
Yeah, dude. So, I think that's the night that I actually sang Edge Crusher.
I believe so.
With Fear Factory on stage. And that was my first time meeting those dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Fear Factory fan, so I was freaking out, man. So
we had that was back in the day when you're a kid and you want to drive and go see shows wherever you can. And we had seen that tour the night before here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
And we had seen System of a Down. We never really heard of them before. And we were like, those guys are fucking amazing. And so we jumped in the car, drove down to Memphis.
That's cool.
Saw Fear Factory, met you. And we've seen each other throughout the years, man.
It's cool, man. Cool. So I like what you're doing. I know you've been doing this podcast for a bunch of years, supporting the scene, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. It's always nice to to see what you're up to. And like I said earlier, anytime somebody says Jose's a little over the top, I'm like, no, man, that's just Jose.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was telling you earlier, I think after all these years, people were just like, you know what? He's consistently like that. So maybe I think he is really like that. So, yeah, dude, I'm just a big fan of metal. Always have been, always will. I'm a big soldier for it and a big ambassador. And I love supporting the bands and us fans. And I'm a big, big fan. And that's what's, I think, helped me along the way, is just being a super fan. But also it took a lot of work, man, to get to this. And also, like Slayer says, it was divine intervention too, man. Like I'm very blessed to do what I do. There's not a lot of positions like that in the world, I know, and I realize the responsibility I have. But that's why I'm 24/7 with it, though.
I just remembered where we saw each other again. TVT. 12 Volt actually showcased for TVT.
Yes, and I remember that.
The drummer and I, we went out for drinks with you. And
I remember that. Yes, sir.
With the Michelle Oaks and all that.
Yes, shout out to Michelle, man. That's how I met my wife, through Michelle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's very cool.
You know what she's up to these days?
Michelle, I think, no, I'm not sure. Yes, she was doing something. I think she moved to like Sweden or something.
Yeah.
She's doing something over there.
Oh, wow.
Something cool. She's always a hustler, man. So
yeah, she actually found 12 Volt CD just unsolicited. And she saw that we had played with Nothing Face.
Nice. Yep.
So she
That's right.
saw the connection.
That's right. There was I remember that connection. That's right. Yes. Now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, it's all crazy. It's such a small world once you get down to it. But so we know you went from went from Memphis to what to radio in Arizona, correct?
No, from Memphis, Tennessee. I was in pharmacy school.
Right.
And I worked at the radio station there. But I went to New Jersey to work in New York City in the beginning of 2000, and then I worked for TBT Records, and then after that I started at Sirius Satellite Radio in the summer of 2000 to help build their rock department there. Mm-hmm. So a year before we launched nationally. So so I've been there, making the metal channel.
So all right, so you did that a year before they launched. So what made you want to jump into something like that? Did you see that as kind of the future, or was that just
it goes back to me being a super diehard metalhead, and I was checking out the brochure when I was on Sirius, because I had got one in the mail, and one of the guys over there was asking the record label for a bunch of product, a bunch of music, and a bunch for to make their libraries for these alternative channels. And I'm like, who is this? What is Sirius? And then they sent me a brochure. I was reading it, the science, the technology behind it, and then I saw the channel guide, and it said heavy metal 24/7. That's all I needed, dude.
Right.
So I saw that, and I shit myself, and I freaked out, and I never knew something like that existed.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't. And so I just jumped, and I was like, I'll give you whatever you want. Who's the rock guy? Like, who can I talk to? I want to work there, please. Like, what the fuck?
Let me do it.
Come on, and they did. They talked to me, and they liked me a lot, and feel very blessed to have been there, 17 years, longer than most anybody, in the programming department.
Did you expect Sirius to kind of take off like it did?
Yes, I always believed in it. There was a lot of haters, even in our company, people that didn't believe, that didn't want to believe. They were like, no way, there's no way this can work. And when we were struggling too, after a little bit, because there was XM and there was Sirius, and there was two different companies, and we were behind.
Yeah.
Sirius was, and then we got the NFL, and I was like, oh, this is great. We have now football games, and XM doesn't, and they had baseball. I'm a football dude, so I'm like, this is great. This is good, everyone, And people were like, no, we're still gonna lose. We're still losing, or blah blah blah. And everybody was down, and those people aren't there anymore. None of those people survived. Like, it was. I always believed in it, and I always kept a real positive outlook, and I always thought it was going to be massive. Right. And again, it wasn't even about wanting it to be massive. I just wanted to be doing metal, and if massive or not, I'm still, doing this great metal service, and playing all these bands and cheerleading about it so much.
Oh yeah.
So that I think is, my biggest. And always has been my biggest love of that place, is to be able to express my metal, But it ended up being really big, the whole company and everything. Yeah. So it's been a really cool, crazy ride. And we went, our stock at one point was in the cents, and 5-6 cents. We were about to be delisted,
wow.
And then boom. So it's just cool. It's been really cool, man. I love Sirius XM, and without it, I wouldn't be doing any of this shit.
Right.
So.
With the show, I've been able to interview my heroes, but my heroes are always kind of the oddballs. Like, just had David Vincent on, Jeff Walker of Carcass, Max Cavalera. It's always maybe the ones that you wouldn't expect to be the ones that make you a little bit the most nervous. I mean, aside from the big guys, who do you kind of freak out about when they come in the studio?
Dude, there's one artist that still really freaks me out now. And it's one dude, and he's one of my favorites in the world, James Hetfield.
Right.
James Hetfield. I've interviewed James many times, and every time I trip out. I can't believe it. I freak out. Inside, I'm trying to keep it cool, but he knows I'm a big super fan. And to be in this position and to love and support Metallica so much, that's when I'm nervous. But everybody else, man, I don't really get too nervous about it anymore. Ozzy is one of my favorite interviews ever.
Yeah.
I just love being around him. I'm so comfortable around Ozzy. I understand, and I love him. I know how to handle Ozzy, and I love him too much, man. Dio, Ronnie James, man. Ronnie. But I wasn't nervous with Ronnie. The only person I was really ever nervous with is Lemmy. Lemmy one time too.
Yeah.
Lemmy was, because he was kind of like he's Lemmy, he wasn't. I think I asked a stupid question, and it was at one of the award shows, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "Oh man, damn, sorry, Lemmy."
Was that the story with you with Katy Perry, where you didn't know who she was?
Yeah, I was. It was in my office. I had a really cool office in the main hall near the president of our company, and celebrities, big ones, would always walk by my office, and I had the coolest looking office. It stood out. Everybody just looked at it when they walked by. And it was all clear glass, but I had it all decorated with cool Metallica stuff, Megadeth, Ozzy. And it looked really cool. I had a Jaeger tat machine on my desk, right there, visible to everybody walking by. So people just walked in. So Katy Perry, I didn't know it was her. She walked into my office. I was pouring myself some cereal in a bowl and going in to get milk in the kitchen. And I was super baked. I had just, smoked on the way into work. And I was holding my cereal, and this hot girl walks in wearing a flower mini dress. Mm-hmm. And I was like, she was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, hi. And she's like, I know you, right? And I'm like, I don't think so. And then she's like, I know, I do know. I met you before. I'm like, are you a metal girl? And she was like, no. And I'm like, I do host a TV show. I didn't know what the fuck. Right. And she was like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, well, what do you do? And then she walked in. She was walking around looking at all my stuff. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Baked out of your mind too?
Baked. And I was like, what is this girl doing right now? and like kind of invading all my stuff, looking at things, like looking around, and then she was like, I met you before and you looked super familiar, and then she kept on talking to me, and I wasn't talking back because I didn't know what to say. And she was like, all right, well, you're no fun or something. Right. Okay, bye. And I was, oh, I'm sorry. And she walked out. I went out to the hallway like a minute later. My office mate said, that girl wanted you, because she didn't see. There was like a little divider in her office, and she heard everything. It was, you can hear everything, and it was the office isn't that big. And she was like, that girl wanted you bad. I'm like, shut up, Pat. She's like, no, she wouldn't leave you alone. I was like, yeah, but she just thought I was somebody else. And then she's like, And then so I walked out, and then my friend was like, dude, what did Katy Perry, what was she saying to you? I was like,
that was like Katy Perry.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Really? And then she walked out of the president's office, and she saw me, and I was in the hallway, and she came over to me. And I said, I'm sorry, Katy, I didn't know who you were. I feel so stupid. She was like, I know, and I love that. Yeah. She was like, walk with me. And then she grabbed my arm, and we walked like a wedding procession thing down the hallway. People were just fucking looking at us. Like, people were at the computers, were like, because it was an open hallway with a bunch of coordinators, and then the main offices with the program director. We were walking down all that shit, and people were just like, what the fuck is Jose doing? Locking arms with Katy Perry, man. So then we took a selfie at the elevator, and I gave her a kiss, and then that was it, yeah. Nice. So it's pretty cool.
All right, and I'll let you go.
Hey, Katy, if you're listening, I miss you.
Hey, Katy, I saw you at the Warped Tour back in the day.
Remember?
That was crazy. But give us one good Dimebag story.
Oh, all right, dude. Oh man, dude, I have so many that come to my head. But I mean, the best one is when I met him when I was in high school, and I traded some weed for a backstage after show pass. Yeah. And it was a meet and greet. The band never showed up for it. We were waiting. We had a ride about 4 hours south back home to Douglas, Arizona, and we were in Phoenix for the Pantera Prong Sepultura show. That
was the first tour I ever saw them on. Yeah.
Nice.
And first time I ever met Dime.
Nice. That's when I met him too. So then they weren't coming out, so I snuck around in between some trailers. I found myself on the other side where they were loading up the trucks, and then I heard Dime. A sliding glass door opened up, and I saw Dime in this like RV, and I saw him. He was laughing, and then the door shut again. It was at a curtain, and then the security guard in front moved for a second. I ran right in, opened the door, closed it behind me, and then kind of everybody looked at me, and Dime was like, what's up, dude? Can I help you? And I'm like, and I just got my first Pantera tattoo, nice. Cowboys from Hell, and I was like, dude, check it out, Dime scarred for life. And I showed him my tattoo, and he was like, dude, bro, what's up, man? Yeah. And then he started like shaking my hand, gave me a hug. We smoked joint. He gave me a black tooth. And a silver bullet can that I still have in my safe, dude. I still have that silver bullet can. And he ripped off a poster off the wall, Far Beyond Driven, and him, Vinny, and Rex signed it. And then they went out to meet the people that were still there waiting for the meet and greet, and my friend included. And he was, I was walking with Dime back to this meet and greet, and he was just like,
that's great.
What are you? So ever since that moment, dude, Dime, the way he treated me and the way he made me feel as this little kid, long hair guy, I was like, that was special, man. Yeah. He made me feel real good. So for me, that's why I preach the good gospel of Dimebag. I live what would Dime do, and I just support him and his spirit and his message. He was a unifier, you know what I mean? And I like to do that. He made people feel good.
Yeah,
I like to do that. So I love him, and I always, Pantera's my favorite band. So
mine too. Yeah. I love that you're one of the musical programmers over at Sirius, because every time Pantera comes on, I'm like, I know that was Jose.
Yeah, well, of course.
I met Dime on that tour. I met him throughout the years, just random spots, and then about 3 months before he, was tragically taken from us, I went to a Damage Plan show, and I wasn't going to bother him, but as I was walking out, he was standing by the bus, and I walked up to him, and I said, Dime, I had a moment with him, a really odd moment now I look back on it. I was like, man, I loved you as a kid. I got to tour. I got to join a big band. I got to do a bunch of huge shows, and I always, loved, and one of my inspirations it was like closure. It was
Nice.
the weirdest conversation I've ever had. And he gave me a big old hug, and I went on and never
cool.
thought about it. And then a few months later, he was taken from us tragically. But man, I love Dimebag.
Yeah,
I
me
still
too,
do.
man. Well, the cool thing is there's dudes like us, carrying on the good gospel of Dimebag. So I'm an official cowboy from hell, man. So always will be, and it's very, very cool.
Well, thank you, Jose, for
Yeah,
the
no
time,
problem, man. Yeah, fuck
And,
yeah, dude.
Every time you still play Primer 55 occasionally.
Yeah,
I've heard it on there, and I appreciate the.
No
the
problem.
spins.
That's good. Yeah, Loose, man. That's a cool song. There's a bunch of cool songs from you guys, dude, for sure.
Cool, man. Well, thanks, Jose.
No problem, man.